Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind. We've got to go in on this Democrat corruption, folks. You know, there's that old show with the individual who shall not be named. Kids say the darndest things. I'm sure you've heard me make this exact reference before. There's kids say the darndest things, and then there's Letitia James says the darndest things. I think that's probably the new iteration of the show because her Twitter account is freaking crackhead central. The things that District Attorney Letitia James says, writes, posts, whatever it is on her Twitter, this little anti-Trump social media campaign that she's currently running, has got to be one of the most insane things in the era of the internet, and certainly some of the craziest things I have ever heard from any district attorney or prosecutor. The question I'm asking here is, did you guys see the most recent Letitia James clip? Holy frickin' moly. How is this even real? We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so Letitia James obviously has a history of saying absolutely insane stuff. Well, let's simply add to the list. Here's a video posted on her social media accounts, which has people scratching their heads.
After 11 weeks in court, we rested our case against Donald Trump, the Trump Organization, and other defendants. We brought this case after our 4-year investigation revealed that Donald Trump committed repeated and persistent fraud and unjustly enriched himself, his family, and his business. Before this trial even began, the judge ruled in our favor and found that Donald Trump did engage in years of significant financial fraud we uncovered. Throughout this trial, we revealed the full extent of that fraud. We introduced extensive evidence and questioned more than 24 witnesses. We heard from Donald Trump and his family, his co-defendants, his current and former employees at the Trump Organization, his accountants and associates at a financial institution, loan underwriters, real estate professionals, and experts. And their testimony illustrated years of fraud and baseless valuations to inflate Donald Trump's net worth. And we showed that Donald Trump's financial statements were used to get better loan terms, tax breaks, and a host of other economic benefits. Next month, we will return to court to present our closing argument. I'm confident in our case and that justice will prevail.
Now, I don't know if you caught it. I don't know if you guys heard that specific part, so let's play it specifically.
Before this trial even began, the judge ruled in our favor and found that Donald Trump did engage in years of significant financial fraud we uncovered.
Letitia James literally just released an official video where she essentially makes the claim that her and the judge had already decided Donald Trump was guilty before the trial had even started. Quote, before the trial even began, the judge ruled in our favor and found that Donald Trump engaged in years of fraud to enrich himself. Before the trial began. It was a foregone conclusion, huh? Makes a whole lot of sense why I keep pointing to that, old communist adage. Find the man and I will find the crime. Or rather, give me the man and I will find the crime. The whole thing was a foregone conclusion. Exactly as I've been stating. Donald Trump was found guilty, or was assumed guilty, before the trial even started. It's not surprising that the prosecution found that to be the case. That's kind of their job in a way, to find guilt and then to prove it in court. But to claim that the judge had already made the decision before the trial started has to be one of the most absurd things that I've ever heard from any prosecutor's mouth. The assumption in this case has been since the start that Letitia James and Judge, I forget his last name, it's like Endigron, let me double check really quick, Judge Engoron, had been colluding in some sense. There's the infamous in-court moments of Letitia James smiling from ear to ear, elated with the press that she's receiving surrounding the civil case.
State's witness just about 2 weeks ago, and he distanced himself from being, one of the top heads of Trump Organization and preparing.
Then, of course, there's the Engoron smiling moment.
James now being shown in the background. You've got Trump in the foreground, and it fulfills the narrative on both sides.
Just having a grand old merry time, interfering in elections, engaging in our witch hunt trials, attacking Donald Trump. Obviously, there's been something fishy from the start with these two clear, lifelong Democrat actors, Democrat insiders, running a racket. That's obviously the case. And here we have Letitia James once again telling us the quiet part out loud. It's the second time she does this. Flashback, this is exactly what she did to get elected in the first place.
And what would you say to people who say, oh, I'm not going to bother to register to vote because my voice doesn't make a difference, or I'm just one person?
I say one name, Donald Trump. That should motivate you.
Will you sue him for us?
Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the He's going to know my name personally.
I love it.
It's absolutely astonishing that this case is even allowed to proceed. The amount of bias, the amount of conflict of interest is unlike anything I've ever seen. Letitia James obviously stands to benefit. She ran a campaign on literally going after Donald Trump. Her entire social media account is nothing but anti-Trump political rhetoric and messaging. Scroll through her account, it's a daily vlog of hashtag we're gonna get Trump. It's literally a daily vlog, and yesterday's vlog is by far the most eye-opening moment. Nobody should take these cases seriously, and especially not this New York civil case, which should have been dismissed due to gross misconduct and conflict of interest months ago. You know, the core dynamics of this case alone are enough to completely discredit it. How is it possible for Donald Trump to have a fair case when he's being prosecuted by a politician who hates him and is clearly running an operation for the Democrat Party? How is it possible to have a fair trial in deep blue 80+% Democrat support Manhattan? How is it possible to have a fair ruling with a lifelong Democrat judge whose entire family donates, supports, and advocates for the Democrat Party? This case should be thrown into the trash, or at the very least, Letitia James should be forced to recuse herself, and the case should be moved to a completely different judge in a less partisan district. I've never seen anything like it. But instead, in corrupt Manhattan, the whole thing's gonna be allowed to proceed because the Democrat Party runs Manhattan, and Letitia James is gonna get her moment in the spotlight. What's probably gonna happen, since this whole thing is a foregone conclusion, is Judge Engoron is gonna issue some sort of massive settlement payment or some massive fine in the hundreds of millions of dollars. It's gonna be the headline for probably a month or 2 months straight, and Letitia James is gonna be on every frickin' TV show, MSNBC, CNN, NBC News, CBS. She's gonna do the whole frickin' thing, celebrating that justice was achieved in this case, and that Donald Trump is now a convicted criminal, even though it's a civil case. Hashtag guilty, found guilty of fraud. And her political stock is gonna shoot through the roof. She's gonna be the next Stacey Abrams, the next Democrat hero. I mean, absolutely twisted stuff. You leftoids ought to have an introspective moment here. You have a rogue prosecutor, a rogue attorney general, attempting to interfere in American democracy, attempting to destroy a former president and his family and his business, saying stuff like, elect me, we're gonna get him, and myself and the judge had already come to the conclusion that Trump was guilty ahead of the trial. Have a moment of introspection. This is the side that you are on. There is no way to justify this kind of behavior. It's unethical, corrupt, absolutely horrid. And instead of just mindlessly cheering it on, cheer blue no matter who, like a damn seal, slapping your fins, maybe, just maybe, take a moment to think, to understand this circumstance and realize very simply that this whole thing is completely effed up. No prosecutor should be speaking like this, tweeting like this, or smirking in the courtroom the way Letitia James is. She is absolutely awful, and what she said in that clip that was initially played here is one of the most deranged, awful, corrupt, and evil things I have ever heard uttered from any legal official. That's the top cop in New York. What an absolutely corrupt asshole. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, friends, and I will see you on the next one.